Don't you worry.
Now, we go back a little further in time for our next true tale of old Hathersage. A tale known to Chaucer. Such was the impact of these events on the national consciousness. The tale is told that there were three young men who lived right here in Hathersage. And they were neither particularly liked by their friends nor loved by their families, for one was greedy, one was lecherous, one was lazy, and all three were drunkards. They would spend their time and their money in that foul sink of iniquity called the Little John. Gambling, wenching, and drinking.
No.
But they cared not what others thought of them, for there were three well-made young men with big fists who were not afraid to use them, and they had the entire town in fear. Until one day they were in the Little John, up to their usual tricks, when a man came in dressed all in black with some bad news for them. It appears that a friend of theirs, who lived some way up the valley, the other side of Bamford, had fallen drunk into a ditch. So yes, it's quite true, he lived in hope, but died in Hathersage. On hearing the news, they rushed out of the pub. And there, going down Station Road, as it is now, Stations of the Cross Road, as it was then, was their friend's funeral procession. And they looked into the coffin, and his face was a bloody mess. And they said to themselves, "Death has taken our friend. How dare he, the rogue! We'll have his guts for this." They swore vengeance. They were going to get death. And so they set off behind the cortege. Came through Hathersage, coming to this very church. And they came out of the village, up the church lane, and there, as chance would have it, they saw an old man sitting there in the moonlight. His face so wrinkled and craggy, so cold that it looked blue. And, of course, being the fine, upstanding citizens they were, they decided to have some sport with him and started to mock him. But he said, "Young men, I know of your quest." Well, they called him mad old grandad at this, but he said, "No, I know where you will find death." That shut them up. He said, "You will find death under that tree. If you'd like to come with me, I'll show you which tree."
Oh, gosh. Whoa, he's off. Manhole. Oh, did I say manhole?
Curious portents, as you will soon hear. Now, hearing that this was where they would find death, they went behind the tree and waited for the villain, hiding behind the tree. But one of them caught his foot in a hole between the roots. Ow! He said. He looked down. There was something glinting between the roots of the tree. So he bent down to scrape the soil away, and they kicked the hole a bit bigger and pulled out a great leather bag. They brought it forward. They cut the thongs, and out spilled gold. More gold than they had seen or imagined in all their worthless lives. Suddenly their quest was forgotten. They could only think of just how much drinking, gambling and whoring they could do with that little stack. They worked out that between the three of them, this would give them 5 years of living high on the hog, with all the women, beer, gambling, beer, and beer that their stupid hearts could desire. They realized that they needed to celebrate. How could they do that? Beer. Thank you. Not wanting to carry the hoard into the town where it might be seen by its true owner, they sent the youngest one down to the Little John to get them some more beer. Now, while he was gone, their hearts full of virtue and goodness realized that actually dividing it 2 ways would make it last a lot longer. They worked out that if they were to kill their friend and take his share, then they could live the high life for a good 7.5 years. And this is what they resolved to do. Their friend, however, being their equal in all ways, had a very similar idea. He too had calculated that if he alone had all the gold, then he could live the high life for a lot longer. As he was coming up the lane, he saw that there was some belladonna growing there. He picked the berries. He crushed them into the beer, knowing that the bitterness of the beer would hide the bitterness of the berries. He made sure that he crushed a lot of berries into the beer because he did not want to make any mistakes. And back he came, full of cheer and jollity. And so he lay there, his face in the mud, with the moonlight shining on him, dead. And his 2 bosom companions congratulated themselves on their cleverness and drank a toast to themselves in the poisoned beer. And so, the strange old man had been proved quite right. They had indeed found death under the tree. And the old man stepped across their bodies and gathered up his gold and went on his way whistling a merry tune.